Hello and welcome to the Fourth and Clutch Podcast, episode 9. My name is Darren. I got my host Elias, my co-host here with me, Elias. Elias, say what's up to the people.
What's going on, y'all? We had a interesting Thursday night football game. Wasn't as boring as I thought it'd be, but got a lot of topics to jump into, including possibly trades in the offseason, as well as my fantasy boom bust players of the week. And we got Darren's Shway Slate coming up as well. So we'll get into it.
Yee! All right, let's get it. We got Thursday night football recap first, guys. We had the Jets at the Patriots. Like Elias mentioned earlier, it wasn't that bad of a game. I think most people were expecting a blowout, but the Jets honestly didn't play that bad. I know the stat line for Justin Fields wasn't the best, but they had some egregious drop passes tonight. Adonai Mitchell dropped 2 balls right in his hand.
They just gave him away for that reason. That's why the Colts included him in that deal. He's ass.
AD Mitchell dropped 2 egregious passes. Like one, he beat Christian Gonzalez in a double move, and Justin Fields literally threw the most perfect ball to him, and he just fucking dropped it. And then he throws one outside shoulder because I know he was wide open, but the play was for him to go outside shoulder regardless. And AD Mitchell dropped it. And then on the last drive, they had 3 drops on their final drive to try to bring it back and make it a 1-score game. So drops were the killer tonight. Fields had a huge fumble on the snap, and he just, instead of falling on it, he tried to pick up and run with it. Got to be a little smarter there. But overall, I don't think he played too bad, in my opinion. Other than the fumble, he protected the ball well. He threw some great balls tonight. Like I said, just the receivers were not holding on to them. Trayvon Henderson had a coming out party with the hat trick, 3 TDs. Shout out to the people in my girlfriend's fantasy league that never picked him up, because I got him off waivers this morning for her. So she got her a cool 32 points in fantasy this morning or today. Other than that, Patriots did the Patriot thing where they beat up on a under 500 team. I'll kind of let Elise take over that part with the Patriots now, because I think he has a lot to say about Drake May, who is better than Caleb Williams, by the way.
Yes. Yes, he is. But did some research. Probably can't see that. I had to track all of Drake May's completions because I was wondering. I was like, I haven't watched a Patriots game in depth in years since Brady played, because I'm like, why would I? They've had dog shit after dog shit after dog shit. They had Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones when he was, obviously not getting. I didn't want to say the word groomed because that sounds horrible, but he wasn't getting he wasn't like properly brought up as a quarterback. Like, they weren't patient with him. They gave up on him too quick. He was in between bad head coaching, and then finally he just got out at the wrong time. So I had to track Drake May stats because I finally got to watch a Patriots game, and I'm like, how is this dude completing over 73% of his passes? So I did the math, and over air yards, this is Drake May throwing to the receiver doing the rest of the work. So I'm not including that where the receiver is doing all the work, breaking tackles, falling forward, getting lead blockers, none of that. So take this with a grain of salt, because obviously screenplays are designed to get some yards, but Drake May had less than 7.5 yards for air yards. So that means that he was practically a check down merchant by definition. And that's including the 5 big plays that he had for, I believe it was 17 or more yards for air yards. So that's one game. I'm not going to say that's what he is, but for this game, he was definitely a check down merchant. Again, it's against the Jets defense. You don't need to do a whole lot against them. It's just what I came away with the one game that I watched from beginning to end of watching Drake May play. Regardless, yes, as of the sophomore year, he's the best quarterback in the draft class. Last year, it was Jaden Daniels by a mile. It was Bo Nix after that. In my opinion, it was Caleb Williams after that. And then it was Drake May, then Michael Penix, then everyone else. Some people might disagree with me with the Drake May and Caleb Williams comparison, but you have to take into consideration the Patriots had practically the exact same coaching staff last year as they do this year. And the Bears had Eberflus. They had Shane Waldron, who everywhere he goes, their number one receiver never produces. Brian Thomas this year. He had Roma Dunze looking like a bust. He had Jackson Smith and Jigba looking like a bust. Your guy who you said is a top 3 receiver this year.
He is.
So with Shane Waldron, he hinders your offense to a point where you can't even produce. So take that with a grain of salt. That's the reason why I give Caleb the nod over Drake May, because last year when you look at the raw stats, he was awful. You look at Caleb's raw stats, not looking at anything else, just the completions, the yards, touchdowns, interception. It looked great, but nobody's going to give him credit for that. But neither here nor there. Drake May, best sophomore quarterback in that class. Trevion Henderson, like you said, arrived with the hat trick, which was nice to see. I do have my boom bust. I was 50% last week. And let me just start off by saying that I'm in way too many fantasy football leagues because I picked up Ramondre Stevenson in one of my leagues, saw that he was out, didn't snap that I still had Trevion Henderson in another league, and didn't even start him. So looking at that 32 points on my bench is absolutely amazing, especially in a league where I'm first. So, yeah, maybe this is not my expertise. But anyways, he just looked very inefficient on the run. So I'm very curious what we're going to see his split when Ramondre Stevenson comes back. Very curious to see if it's going to be a 50-50 split. Did Henderson earn himself more of a role? For whatever reason, the Patriots like have this like undying or this unwavering loyalty over Ramondre Stevenson to anybody. I don't know. Maybe he has something on the coach, maybe he has something on the owner, but regardless, they keep giving this dude carries after he had like 8 fumbles at the beginning of the season. So it'll be interesting to see if it's going to be a 50-50 split, if it's going to be Henderson taking the reins, but my gut's telling me it's still going to be Ramondre taking the first, second down runs, and maybe Henderson comes down as the third down back. Because he's obviously more efficient in the run or in the pass game, and Ramondre seems a little bit more efficient in the run game. Hence, when Henderson was playing with Quinshon Judkins, that's kind of how they used him at Ohio State.
Yeah.
But with the Jets, again, they let Fields throw the ball, I believe, like 7-8 times in the first half. So that was awful to see. Like, you guys gave this quarterback $40 million over 2 years. Let him play. You guys have nothing to play for at this point. Let him ball out. Let him earn those $20 million that you gave him. He hasn't done much this whole season, but let him air it out. Breece Hall didn't look very efficient on the run game at all this whole game. He is what he is at this point. He's just a very frustrated star. He wants to go to play somewhere else, but the Chiefs were knocking and the Jets weren't willing to budge. And unfortunately, you're stuck with the Jets for the next year or two. So we'll see if he gets traded in the offseason. We'll get to another player who might get traded in the offseason here in a second. But all in all, Jets are still ass. It's just a division rivalry. So, and all in all, in this game, like, it honestly broke the primetime curse that we've had the last couple of weeks where
Definitely.
these games are just unwatchable. Like, and if you had to watch it because it was your team, like, prayers out to you. That was me for the last several years with my Bears, watching them hold teams to 20 points and we scored 10 points, 100 total yards on offense. Like, it was awful the last 2 weeks. So kind of broke the curse. Nice to have a little division rivalry that actually was competitive all the way up until the end. So all in all, enjoy the game. Drake May, yes, this year is the best quarterback in last year's class. Henderson, I hope that the coach finally realizes what they have, but my gut's telling me that they're still going to go with Ramondre Stevenson as the starter.
Yeah, I'll definitely see what happens there. I do think Trayvon Henderson, if he keeps playing at this level, I think he will be the definitive one, and then Ramondre will be the third down back. Speaking of hindrances, I know you mentioned hindrances earlier when you mentioned Shane Waldron. I want to talk about a defensive hindrance here, and that guy is Steve Wilkes.
Yeah.
Why does he have a job? This I know you traded Sauce and Quentin Williams, but this was a defense that Robert Saleh had playing at a top 10 defense last year, and now you're in the bottom 20 of the league now with Steve Wilkes calling this defense. And we have a very good comparison here too, because not only is the Jets defense downgraded since Steve Wilkes is taking over as a DC, but look at the Niners now. He called defense for the Niners for the last 2 years, and now look at what happens now that Robert Saleh is back. They're back to be a top 10 defense, even with all the injuries they have. So why Steve Wilkes has a job, I don't know. If you're Aaron Glenn at this point and you want to establish the culture, and this team is very undisciplined. They had I think 8 penalties for like 130 penalty yards tonight. If you're, it was ridiculous. There's a very undisciplined team, but if you're Aaron Glenn and you really want to win over this locker room, you need to take over that defensive play calling, whether you want to or not. I know you just want to be a head coach, but you got to just pull what your old guy, Dad Campbell, did in Detroit and take over play calling to give some energy to this team. If I'm Aaron Glenn, you got to take over defensive play calling at this point because Steve Wilkes went cover 0 on 3rd and 2, and the Patriots should have hit a bomb for a touchdown. Mac Hollins just dropped it. But why you're going cover 0 on 3rd and 2, I don't know. But Steve Wilkes should not have a job in the NFL, period, in my opinion.
You know what's funny is that Steve Wilkes last year was a head coaching candidate, and he was interviewed by 2 teams. The second team was not released, but the first team was my Chicago Bears. So thank God,
To be fair,
because
that would
he
have
is.
been a very Chicago Bears move. To be fair,
It's like, oh, we have all these
thankfully,
options. Let's
good
go
job.
with Matt Eberflus. So I was like, just going off name base, I'm like, I don't picture 30 years from now people talking about. Remember when Matt Eberflus was the coach of the Chicago Bears?
Oh, it'll be talked about for the worst hire of all time, but
Yeah,
it'll be talked about, buddy. Don't
he'll
you
be
worry.
talked about that way in that sense. Yeah.
Well, all right, guys. I think that'll do it for Thursday night recap. Unless Elise got anything to add here.
No, that's it. We'll get ready to jump into the next topic. Look at my fucking alfalfa here.
All right, guys. So we got our week 11 predictions now. We'll start off across the pond in Madrid. This could be a stinker. I'm not going to wake up for this one. We got
No.
the Commanders and the Dolphins. I'm going to stay asleep. I think I should rather go to work than watch this game on Saturday. I'll make this one quick. I got the Dolphins. The Commanders are old and beat up. Everyone's injured. The Dolphins are probably going to put up like 30 points on them and win like 30-10, 30-17. Run game travels in these overseas games, and Devon A. Chain's been playing out of his mind lately. So I'll expect more of the same. I don't have too much more to add to this game because I think it is just be a stinker.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Achan's going to go off. I think Dolphins are going to win. I was actually considering putting Waddle in my boom players of the week for fantasy. But I felt like that was kind of a little obvious. He's the number 1 target against a horrible pass defense with the Washington Commanders. The reason why I leaned away from him is because, again, obvious choice, but I don't know. Like you said, the run game kind of travels in these overseas games. Teams typically are more tired. These are both East Coast teams, so it's less of a travel for, like the Midwest teams or the Central teams. But yeah, I definitely got Dolphins in this one. I think the Dolphins are actually going to surprise us and give us another back-to-back, like, decent game out of the overseas games. I'm probably going to have the Dolphins in this one scoring about 30 points. And I'm going to have the Commanders scoring about 18 to 20 points.
You think Marcus Mariota is going to put up 18, 20 points overseas?
He's going to get a rushing touchdown, I swear. That's about it. And then the rest is going to be the 17 running backs that they want to play over Bill Crosby-Merritt.
All right. Now we're heading back to the stateside. We're going to head to the NFC South here. We got a division matchup against the Panthers and the Falcons. Elias, I'll let you take this one first.
All right. Are the Falcons going to be good or are they going to be ass?
Are the
The
Panthers
last time,
good or ass? Too. That's the other
that's
question.
true. Both of them. Yeah. Because the last time, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Falcons get zipped out by the Panthers?
30-0.
Okay. What the fuck are we going to see? I'll bleep that out. What are we going to see from them? 30-0 to the Panthers, who have been ass all year long. They're not letting Bryce Young throw the ball anymore. He's averaging, I believe, in the last 4 weeks, less than 170 yards over in completions. So with that being said, like, they're just going to have to rely heavily on Rico Dowdle with the Panthers. And then on the Falcons side, the offense is finally humming now that I said this in an episode previously where I said they need to lean heavily on Drake London because when they do that, great things happen. He's an alpha 1 wide receiver. He's a top 10 wide receiver in this league. So it took them long enough to figure that out, but I hope they continue to keep him fed because that's the only way they're going to compete in this game. Obviously, they have Bijan, but I'm not liking this little split that they're having with Algier right now. And the coach of the Falcons came out and actually said that they consider Algier as a superstar.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Don't get me wrong. During the when the trade deadline was like kind of coming up, the Bears run offense was kind of like lacking. I was actually hoping we would get an Algier, but I was hoping for like a 6th round pick. They consider him a superstar. Superstar goes for like a first, a second. I'm sorry, nobody's trading that for an Algier. So you guys are stuck with them until his contract expires, unless you guys want to pay a backup running back,
Hmm.
8-9 million a year. So I don't know. I'm not liking the split between them. They obviously have Bijan for a reason. He's a top 10 draft pick. They need to give him more carries. They need to feed him in the pass game as well because that's where he's super efficient. Like this dude can take an 80 or a screen pass for 80 yards for a
Yep.
touchdown easily.
Hmm.
So if the Falcons keep the 2 superstars fed the entire game, I got Falcons. If they want to shy away and get cute and throw to whoever the hell else that they have, or you know, fuck, what's his name? Michael Penix. My bad. 3, 2. Or if they want Michael Penix to just completely like hold on to the ball and try to dominate the game and win the game for them, he's gonna throw an interception. He's gonna fumble. Um, Again, this team has not closed out any of these games lately where we're considering are they good, are they bad? And I think they are actually a decent team that they just don't know how to close out games. And I'm thinking that that falls more on the coaching staff with
Hmm.
Raheem Morris. But I got Falcons in this one. I think they're going to get their get back. This seems like just one of those division rivalries where like they split the matchups. And we'll get into another one that's coming up here soon with my Bears. It just seems like one of those teams where they just split the game. So I got Atlanta Falcons 24-17 against the Carolina Panthers.
I'm gonna take the Panthers in this one.
Okay.
I think they're control time of possession with the run game and Rico Dowdle. Um, I actually think the Panthers defense is actually a lot better than they get credit for. Their
Their
defense is
DBs are
actually
legit.
really. I think JC Horn's actually a clamp up on Drake London, if I'm being honest with you. I just kind of favor him in this matchup. And then Michael Penix is so inconsistent game in, game out. So I think this will be a fall off game for him because he played really good last week. So what history tells me is that he's be cheeks this week. So I got the Panthers in this one. I'm gonna take the Panthers 24-10 in this one.
Okay.
At least next up, we actually have a banger of a game in the 11 o'clock slate that I will probably be tuned into. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the Buffalo Bills. Two teams that have kind of been on slippery slopes as of late. The Bills lost a egregious game last week to the Dolphins, and then the Bucks have kind of been on a 3-game skid here. It seems like. Um, Here in this one, I am going to go Buffalo because it is in Buffalo. I'm going to take the better quarterback in Josh Allen in this one. And the Buccaneers defense has not been what I thought it was going to be this year. They're not dealing with many injuries. I just don't think Todd Bowles has figured it out yet with his defense for whatever reason. So I'm gonna take the Bills in this one. I think Josh Allen has a big game on the ground. Actually, I kind of expect him rushing for a touchdown or two, possibly. James Cook will be a huge factor in this game as well. I just think they're the better. I think they're about even on offense. These teams and what they're capable of. I just favor the Bills defense slightly more than the Bucks defense. So I am going to go Buffalo here. I'm going to go. I think it's gonna be a higher scoring game. I think so.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Buffalo in this one, 34-28.
Oh, that's interesting. I had 27 30, 27-33. So that's close to what I had. I have Bills as well. It seems like not that long ago we are talking about the Bills getting back, getting right. It seems like they did, and then they go on bye week, they come out sloppy, and then they lose to the Dolphins later on. So I am going to take the better quarterback. It's crazy that we're in week 11. We're almost done with the NFL season. What seems like at this point, we're more than halfway done. About 7 weeks in, the MVP race was either Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else included. Now we're week 11. I don't even think they're top 5 at this point. I'll be
They're
honest.
definitely not. No, they're not.
No. So the Bills need to get this offense figured out. I get it. Don't have an alpha wide receiver. They look like the Green Bay Packers with a bunch of 2s and 3s. But if it looks like they're actually going to be going without Kincaid this week, so
Mm-hmm.
they're going to have to lean heavily on Shakir and Keon Coleman, which at this point I'm willing to admit it for his draft capital, like a bust. Like this is a guy you could have gotten the 3rd, 4th round. You could have got the exact same like stats and contribution in the 3rd, 4th round from a wide receiver. drafting him in the first round, like you did not get what you wanted out of this guy whatsoever. He had an okay game last week with the touchdown coming away with like 3 receptions for 38 yards. So off of fantasy wise, it looks like he did well, but in reality, no. Khalil Shakir is probably still going to be the alpha wide receiver in this offense now, without any Kincaid. Josh Allen never seemed to like Dawson Knox. He never really targeted him too much. Even when people finally did want Dawson Knox to be the guy, they just leaned towards the backup with Dalton Kincaid, who eventually took over the position.
Mhm.
With Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't know. I've seen Bucky at the practice, but he's still doing no contact. It seems like the mid-foot sprain finally healed, but whatever's going on with his shoulder that they're unwilling to disclose for whatever reason. And I thought at this point the NFL would get involved, but they're not.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, it's keeping him away from contact. So who knows when Bucky Irving's going to get back? Chris Godwin, I don't even know if this dude's ever going to play again. Like he might as well just take that bag and retire because
He
at this
did
point,
he did practice today. I did read that, but they did say it was in a very limited role.
okay. So I thought I read a report that said that he did practice, but it was exactly like same thing. Like he was doing cardio.
Mhm.
So that's a promising sign, but at the same point, like it's so frustrating because it's like you could have added both of these guys to the IR and picked up other people to save the
Mhm.
roster spots, but instead I don't get what the NFL coaches are doing nowadays with the oh he might play, he might not play. Like they think they have this competitive advantage, but the teams are preparing the whole week with or without.
Mhm.
If Godwin's playing, this is how we're gonna play. If Godwin's not playing, this is how we're gonna play. If Bucky's playing, you know what I mean? Like I just don't understand. They should have just added these players to IR a long time ago because they've missed half the season at this point, more than half the season. So with the offensive injuries to the Buccaneers, the offensive line is in shambles with injuries and players getting flipped around. I got the Bills easily in this one, and I gave my score prediction. So yeah,
Definitely, definitely. So we'll move on to the next game. We got the Chargers visiting the Jaguars in Jacksonville. I'm going Chargers. This is kind of a no-brainer for me. There's a better overall team, better coach team, better quarterback for sure. The defense of the Chargers is playing very well, and it's Trevor Lawrence on the other side of the ball. It's crazy to think that we're now talking we're talking about Trevor Lawrence in this way that it's just Trevor Lawrence. Like this is a guy that that we thought was going to be the new face of the NFL in terms of the quarterback position. And he just hasn't gotten there. I would even take him over Drake May. Um, at this point, I wouldn't. So I'm definitely going to lean towards the Chargers in this one. I think we'll have a big game from Kamani Vidal in this one because the Chargers are on a bye next week. So when they get back, they will get Marion Hampton back. So I think the Chargers are working towards a two-headed monster with Hampton and Vidal going forward for the rest of the season, which is going to be huge considering their offensive line injuries. Um, so with them being able to have a good run game, really makes it a lot easier for Justin Herbert, despite the injuries that he's dealing with on the O line. Then when it comes to the Jaguars, I don't know what's making this team. Like I said, I know it's Trevor Lawrence, but BTJ has been pretty cheeks all year. He's still questionable for this weekend. Um, yeah, man, just give me the Chargers.
yeah, I agree with you. It's crazy that at this point, only a handful of years later, we're talking about Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback that we're not sure we trust. Again, my
Mhm,
stance on him these last few years is that I don't believe in him. I don't think he's a legit quarterback. I think that the game sped up a little too fast for him when it came to the NFL level.
mm,
Jacksonville named the last quarterback that they've ever developed, David
right.
Garrard, for a couple of years, and that even then you can't say that's development. That's just a Linsanity season or two. But this organization doesn't develop quarterbacks. So had he gone to a different organization, we might have been looking at a different quarterback. But again, you get drafted where you go. You're that good of a talent, you're going to go to one of the worst teams in the league. So unfortunate to see. Like you said, Brian Thomas again, limited participant in practice today again. Who knows if he's going to play? Um, they have Shane Waldron, so I wouldn't play. And if you have him in fantasy, please bench him because again, he's been buns, like you said. Can't catch the ball all of a sudden. He was one of the top receivers to finish off the year last year. Everyone is expecting him to just dominate this year. Even in the draft process beforehand, I was like,
Mhm.
whoever gets Brian Thomas is going to be a steal because he's going to fall into the late teens, early 20s, and those are decent teams. And once I saw Jacksonville get him, I was like, ooh, that's kind of scary. So we'll see what Jacoby Myers can do with the workload handed over to him again. Has an extra week to get into this Liam Cohen
Mhm.
offense. Again, I said it in my solo episode. I had heard that this is a complicated offense to learn. So with the extra week of like film study and playbook understanding, hopefully that he can kind of get into the groove of things a little bit better. Um, I'm still expecting Parker Washington to kind of take over this offense as the number one receiver that Trevor Lawrence trusts.
Mhm.
Um, I don't believe that they have their tight end. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Do you remember?
No, the tight end is, to be
Strange,
honest with you.
Brenton
Yeah,
Strange.
strange.
I think he's out for this game as well. I could be wrong on that, but I'm expecting Travis Etienne to have a decent game. The Chargers defense haven't been what they were at the beginning of the year. Chargers, I like seeing the ascension of Trey Harris. I always liked him from Ole Miss. I always thought he was a solid wide receiver, so it's nice to see him get more playing time in this, super heavy wide receiver room. And then my bad. Super heavy wide receiver room. Right. 3, 2. In this super heavy wide receiver room, especially with the arrival of Aronde Gadsden, it looks like he's going to play. He's been a full participant in practice as of
Mhm.
recent, so he'll probably play. Keenan Allen's looking like the odd man out again. They're putting Trey Harris a little bit more in the offense. Quentin Johnston and Justin Herbert are connecting again, and then obviously you got Lad McConkey as the true number one receiver in that offense. So once this offense gets healthy again with the offensive line, maybe this isn't their year, but if they can get a full year with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt,
Mhm.
this offense is going to look very scary.
Yeah, it is.
And we'll get into them that they might be a strong uh, contender for a number one wide receiver in the league in the offseason. So we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I'm going to lean with the Chargers in this game. Again, I just don't trust the quarterback. I think Justin Herbert's a lot better. So yeah, I'm going to go Chargers on this one 24-17.
Definitely, definitely. Heading to the NFC North, we got your Chicago Bears visiting the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. I'll let you take this one first since it is your Bears. Do you guys get your revenge and get to split with the Vikings?
Shit, I hope so. I honestly think we do. I think that especially because JJ McCarthy's playing again. He hasn't played very well. He came out with the all-time cornball saying of my alter ego is called number 9. They talk about it all the time where like you don't give yourself a nickname in the NFL or any professional league, or much less give yourself an alter ego name. It's like, oh, he number 9 takes over. It's like, oh my God. But anyways, regardless of all that, I like to believe that the Bears defense, even though they've been atrocious, our rush defense account is actually been coming along these last few
Mhm.
weeks. So I believe we can stop Aaron Jones, even though this dude's ran all over us for the last 10 years. It seems like he'll average 2.7 yards per carry leading up to us, and then averages 7.8 yards per carry against us. But he is an aging back. He's still suffering with injuries.
Mhm.
And then of course behind them they got Jordan Mason, who I'm actually a little bit more afraid of, but because he's more of that bruiser back that can kind of just carry the linebackers for an extra 2 yards. But
Mhm.
regardless against that, it's still going to be Justin Jefferson. It's still going to be TJ Hawkinson. It's still going to be Jordan Addison against this atrocious defense. Um, I'm hoping that the Bears offense gets it done yet again. And in this game with the Vikings defense possibly going out without Jonathan Grenard and Van Ginkel, their two best edge rushers,
Mhm.
I'm liking the Bears' chances in this on offense. So possibly going to be another offensive versus offensive matchup. I'm going to go with the better quarterback in this matchup, as we do in some matchups where it kind of is a coin flip. And I think Caleb Williams has been vastly superior compared to JJ McCarthy this year. So I'm going to go Bears in this one, possibly 27-20.
So I too, I'm gonna go with the Bears. I'm gonna go 27-24 though. I do think
Okay.
it's be a high scoring affair. Um, just your defense, like I said, you even said yourself, the defense is just not that good. It is a talent thing for you guys. It's not even a coordinator thing because Dennis Allen is a great defensive coordinator. He's just working with the kids from around the street to on defense. So it's gonna be really hard to really slow down the pass game probably with someone like Jefferson and Addison. Those you can't really shut those guys down. If you shut one down, the other guys would go off. No matter what happens. But I do think that JJ McCarthy will make some mistakes in this game. Maybe fumble or throw an interception. I would put money on that actually that he throws an interception. And I would definitely say I would lean towards the Bears in this one because, like I said, the offense is better than the Vikings. I do think it is going to be an insane chess matchup between Ben Johnson and Brian Flores. But like you said, them two missing, I think them missing their two big edge rushers is kind of what makes me lean towards the Bears. I think if Van Ginkel and Grenard were playing, I probably lean towards the Vikings. But because they are out, I'm going to give it to the Bears 27-24.
And also, the Bears are going to be missing Jaquan Brisker this game, possibly. We're already missing Jalen Johnson. We're missing Kyler Gordon. Um, like, what more can you ask on our defense?
Mm,
Like, again, like I might as well step in at DB. You might as well step in at safety. We might see Mr. Biles come in and play safety as a backup.
that's crazy.
So
It's out of pocket.
yeah. We'll jump into the
Well,
next one.
all right, guys. Keeping it in the NFC North, we got the Green Bay Packers visiting the New York Football Giants. Jameis Winston's game to start this time around. Mike Kafka taking over as the play caller and head coach for the Giants as the interim, making the executive decision already to not go to Russell Wilson, who's probably the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. If I'm being very honest with you. The issue with this game, though, is that if you're the Packers, I'd be very concerned because your offense isn't playing the best. But Jameis Winston's either going to throw 3 picks or throw 350 on you guys and win this game somehow, some way. There's been no in between on that one. This could be a get right game for Jordan Love though, because the Giants defense is so atrocious in the secondary. But the only thing I would be concerned with if I was the Packers is your O line did not hold up against the Eagles D line very well, and our D line's playing kind of like at a slow pace right now. Jalen Phillips just thinks we had a big game, but now you're going up against the best front four in football, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised this is a lot closer game than people think. I do believe also the Giants are playing with a lot more energy now that Dable's gone and Mike Kafka's there. These teams usually play a little bit better when they get an interim coach. You get like a little +5 boost or whatever it is. So I'm gonna take the Packers to win this one, but it's gonna be a lot closer than people think. I'm gonna go Green Bay in this one, 21-17.
Okay. I think it's gonna be a low scoring affair as well. You talked about worst quarterback in the league. Geno Smith has entered the chat.
Russell Wilson
But
says it.
but this defensive line with the Giants, they're insane. PFF right now has the Bears right tackle, Darnell Wright, ranked as the 4th best right tackle in football right now. And he locked up Brian Burns. He locked up whoever was on that side. But then you go to the other side of the offensive line where we have Pro Bowl Joe Thuney and we have Canadian undrafted free agent Theo Benedict getting worked all game. So this defensive line's legit. And the Packers O-line is not what it used to be. It's still solid, full of decent players, but they actually haven't looked that well this whole season. Like, you go into every season and you're expecting, especially in my division, you're expecting the Packers to have a good quarterback and a great offensive line. This is the first season where that's not true. So I'm expecting the Giants to create a lot of pressure on Jordan Love. And with the pressure, you see what he does. He lobs the ball into harm's way. He makes poor decisions. Like, this dude needs a clean pocket to make magic happen at all. And which can be the case for any NFL level quarterback. You have a clean pocket, most NFL quarterbacks can succeed. So with this one, Giants DBs being atrocious, their linebackers not being the greatest. Jameis, we'll see which Jameis we get. We're gonna get the either turnover dominant Jameis, or we're gonna get the one that's just gonna air it out for 400 yards.
Pretty much.
No in between. I agree with you. I think it's gonna be pretty close, but I think I'm gonna have the Packers in this one, and I'm gonna flip the score.
So same score, 21-17 Packers?
Yeah.
All right. So heading to the AFC North now in a division game here, we got the Bengals and the Steelers. The last time these two teams met, Joe Flacco went absolutely crazy. Jamar Chase went for 16 receptions and 160 yards and 2 tuds. T. Higgins also had himself a game. This one is in Pittsburgh. And I'm going to be honest with you, Elias. I'm taking the Joe Flacco Bengals over the Steelers again. This Steelers team has just not played very good at all. I know the Bengals defense isn't the best at all. They're in the bottom 3 of the league along with the Cowboys. But There's just something about this Steelers team that I don't like, and it's Aaron Rodgers has been showing his age recently. And on top of Aaron Rodgers showing his age, the defense still hasn't got it figured out yet. They got cooked by Justin Herbert without no his two offensive tackles are out, and TJ Watt and Highsmith cannot get any pressure on him. That says a lot to me. So I'm gonna take the Bengals in this one again. I think Joe Flacco goes crazy. I would Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are probably going to have another monster game. Darius Slay is out this game with a concussion because he is in protocol. Asante Samuel Jr. signed here for whatever reason. Yeah, let's go to a team that has like 8 DBs on the roster. Makes a lot of sense. Moron. But I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. I'd say they put up a lot of points again. I got them 31-25.
I got Bengals in this one again as well. Possibly seeing Joe Burrow finally at practice. He's doing light footwork drills. He's throwing the ball again. Possibly that can bring some some motivation to your team to we got to lock in. Like this, our guy is coming back soon. Like we need to give him something to come back to. Like you said, I had mentioned that TJ Watt was one of my most disappointing players of the year. And I stand by that he's probably going to finish out as one of the most disappointing players of the year. Playing against a backup tackle and you could create no pressure whatsoever. Yeah, the Steelers defense, very fraudulent. In my solo video, I had talked about the DBs being ranked 70 amongst 105 DBs in the league when it comes to PFF. That wasn't including Jalen Ramsey, of course, but I didn't feel like I needed to rank him because PFF is generous towards him. They have him ranked in the 20s, but even then, you might not think that's not generous. That is very generous. Jalen Ramsey has been horrible this year.
Oh, no, I'm saying that's too high. He's been burnt toast all year.
Yeah. I'm not even telling you. I'm telling the people right now. Like that's horrible, but that's still overrated. I definitely agree with you on this one. I think the Steelers again are one of those teams like in the upper tier of the AFC, which has been a lot more weak this year, especially due to injuries. I think they're absolutely fraudulent. I think they're going to lose this game. I don't trust the old man Aaron Rodgers anymore. He's not Aaron Rodgers of his 30s. He's Aaron Rodgers in his 40s at this point. He hasn't been playing the same way that he used to. But I do think it is going to be a high scoring game. So there will be points put on. And I'm going to have this one 33-27.
They're on the same on that one. Aaron Rodgers, go back to Jeopardy, you fraud. But anyways, speaking of people playing horrible, got the Titans and the Texans. She is Stroud also out in this one, but I don't think it makes a difference. Davis Mills is playing. I'm not going to spend any time on this one. Give me the Texans. The Titans suck.
Yeah, Titans, like the same way the Broncos are miserable to watch on primetime TV because it's the only game. The Titans are the exact same thing, except they don't win. They're miserable to watch all around, and they don't win. Yeah, give me the Texans in this one. Davis Mills is going to put 330 on their head, 2 tutties and an interception, but they're still going to come out on top. I don't care what the score is. Titans aren't winning.
Heading to the NFC West, we got the 49ers visiting the Cardinals. Another game I'm not going to spend too much time on. I know it's a division game. I'm taking the Niners in this one. The Cardinals just aren't a good team. The defense is decent. I think they have a lot of talent on that defense. They just don't have the right coaches in place to be successful. There's to get out coached is I think what it comes down to here. Marvin Harrison is out this game as well. I got the Niners a lot to a little.
With Trey McBride, I still think this offense is going to put up points. Definitely expect Michael Wilson to put up some points as well as this game, but regardless, fantasy aside, Niners are going to win this game. But there is some interesting news coming out, and it got reported recently that it's looking like Brock Purdy is actually going to get the start this week. It's looking like he's putting enough practice
Cardinals
together
win.
Yeah.
Cardinals win. Give me the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals, baby. Brock Purdy's back. Oh, give me the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals all day in this one.
Oh, that's harsh. But no, like the point I'm trying to get to is like, why? You're playing against the Cardinals who are decimated by injury. They don't have their starting quarterback. They don't have their alpha wide receiver. What's the rush of getting Brock Purdy? Sit him another week. Mac Jones has been comparable to him this entire season. Mac Jones has actually played like a top 20 quarterback this year. Like nobody's going to argue me on that. Mac Jones has been a top 20 quarterback in the league this year. So what's the rush of getting Brock Purdy back when you guys have a winning record? Mac Jones has gotten the job done week after week for the most part. So don't
Mhm.
rush this dude back because guess what's going to happen? You guys are opening yourself for criticism. You guys are going to get crucified if anything happens to Brock Purdy with a winning record. You guys end up beating the Cardinals anyways because they're ass,
Mhm.
and you guys are going to outcoach them regardless. Mac Jones is going to take over, win the game for you. So why rush this dude back? You guys have a winning record. You're probably going to make the playoffs regardless because you're going to be the second in that division. Ooh, actually, I forget. Rams have arrived. You guys might not make the playoffs,
They're
to be
not.
honest with you. So maybe that is why they're rushing him back. So either way, though, I just don't think this is the game to rush him back. I think Mac Jones can handle this game regardless.
I agree.
But you guys are just opening yourselves to get crucified with this. Like if something happens to him where it sets him back even further, you guys might as well throw the season away. Regardless, with all the injuries, I don't think you guys are going to compete in the playoffs regardless if you do make it.
Yeah, 49ers fans, you guys already hate me as is. So help me. You guys lose this game of Brock Purdy back. You guys are not going to hear the end of it from me. You're not
50
going to hear
mil a
the end of it
year.
from me. You're not going to hear the end of it from me. Just know that. Keeping it in the NFC West, we have a showdown for first place with the Rams and the Seahawks meeting at SoFi. This would be a great game to watch. I'm looking forward to this one a lot. We have two of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL scoring up here. We got top 3 receiver in JSN, top 5 in Puka Nakua. It's definitely be a great matchup. I think these teams are both playing at elite levels. Both have hot hands. Both quarterbacks are playing well. Both defenses are on fire. This would be a great game. This would be a probably like an NFC Championship caliber matchup that we're going to see in this game. In all honesty,
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna be a little biased in this one because I just got back from Seattle. I was just at Lumen Field. I am gonna go with the Seahawks in this one. It'll probably be a shootout. I don't know if it'll be a shootout because both defenses are really good, but I do think points will be put up. I'm gonna take the Seahawks in this one. I'm gonna go 28-24 Seahawks. I just think their defense is slightly better overall than the Rams. I know the Rams have a great D line, but I think as a complete defense, I favor the Seahawks. And Matthew Stafford is due for one stinker a year. It feels like at this point in his career, and he's been playing way too hot right now. He could keep riding the hot hand. Don't get me wrong, he 100% could, but I do think this is a game where Mike McDonald's defense is going to just cause fits for him, and he'll make a mistake or two, or Kyron Williams will fumble because Kyron Williams is a fumbling machine. I think it comes down to whoever causes the turnover. I think Seahawks force a turnover in this one and win the turnover battle. So I'm going to take Seattle 28-24 over the Rams to keep first place in the division in the NFC West.
This one's hard for me because Matthew Stafford's playing at an MVP level. It seems like Sean McVay's like just pushing him for his last year in the NFL, possibly. Let's get this MVP season. Let's get you a championship, and then you can just run off into the sunset. But you're right. Like his hot hand lately has been almost too hot.
Mm-hmm.
So he's due for a crash at some point, and then he'll get back on track, obviously, because he's just that good of a quarterback. This might be the defense to do it. Initially I was leaning towards Rams, but I'm leaning towards Seahawks because again, I agree with you on the defense. Overall, if you're going defensive line versus defensive line, it's Rams by a good bit. If you're going defense versus defense in totality, it's the Seahawks by a wide margin. This defense is locked down. Sam Darnold with the JSN connection has continued to be one of the best stories of the 2025 NFL
Mm-hmm.
season. With Clint Kubiak being the offensive coordinator, he's going to start getting Rashid Shaheed more involved in this offense as well.
100%.
I could see him having a big game this week as well. I'm definitely not going to put him on my boom players because he's the definition of boom bust, so I don't want to put any money on that. But I can easily see him having a good game this week as the Rams defense does struggle against those one hitters where they just go for a 60-yard touchdown because they just burn everybody because nobody on their DBs have any kind of speed like that. So, yeah, I got Seahawks in this one, 24-20.
And Cooper Cup revenge game.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah. So heading to the NFC, back to the AFC North this time. Another division showdown between the Ravens and the Browns. I'm not gonna go in depth into this one too much because Dylan Gabriel is still the starter. Ravens by a lot.
Yeah, Cleveland. don't get me wrong. I get it. You guys don't want to start Shador. If this was the reason, I would understand, but it's not the reason. I understand you don't want to start him because you don't want to ruin him on a shitty team, but that's not the reason. Kevin Stefanski just wants to get fired by riding out with Dylan Gabriel. This dude is the definition, again, I've said this before, the definition of a game managing backup journeyman quarterback. This dude is
Mhm.
not good. He has horrible footwork. He has horrible like processing speed when it comes to reading defenses. This dude stares down his receiver the entire time. Reminiscent of a lot of quarterbacks that I've been used to in my time. But yeah, Ravens, we're gonna get to one of my bust players of the week here coming soon from the Cleveland Browns, but this is a trap matchup. It looks like, oh, the Ravens defense are terrible. Look at the stats on the season. No, they got almost all their starters back,
Mhm.
minus Matabike. Uh, Other than that, no, Ravens are going to run away with this one by 20 plus points. Take the spread.
Agree. So now heading to the AFC West in a huge matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs travel to Mile High Stadium to take on the Denver Broncos and that vaunted defense. This is a very big game, more so for the Chiefs. Because if the Chiefs lose this game, they're at risk of not making the playoffs, which is
Yeah.
crazy to say. Because right now they're third place in their division because the Chargers are there in second, and the Broncos have been riding a hot hand as well. And this is a very tough game for me to predict because what Denver offense are we going to get here? Is this the one that we got in the last 2 weeks, or is this one we got against the Eagles and Giants where Sean Payton just says, "Hey, I'm going to just call what I call the Drew Brees and see what we can do with Bo Nix here." Um, I just think that this Denver defense is way too good, in my opinion. This Chiefs O line has been struggling the whole year. They're going up against a defense that's on pace to set the NFL record for sacks. They have 30, I think they have like 42 and a half sacks on the year already,
Yep.
which is absurd. We're halfway through the season. I'm going to ride the Denver defense in this one. And I'm actually going to predict RJ Harvey to have a huge game since he is the go-to guy this week with J.K. Dobbins being out or being limited possibly. Um, I'm going to go with Denver because I did pick Denver to win this division at the beginning of the season because I thought this defense was just that good. It's going to be a great chess matchup between Andy Reid and Vance Joseph. I'm going to take Denver in this one. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair because defensive battle here. I'm going to take Denver in this one 21-17.
Okay. I'm having a hard time because Bo Nix has been hot ass the last few weeks. So, like you said, tale of two tales. Which one are we gonna get? We're gonna get the Bo Nix who's clutch, who can finish out the games, or are we gonna get the Bo Nix who's just been garbage? It's hard to tell. The Chiefs O line is actually ranked, I think, sixth. Yeah, sixth in the season right now. But also the Broncos have 3 of the top 20 sack leaders this year, with Nick Benito leading it. Defensive player of the year, in my opinion, but we won't get into that because obviously they're not going to give it to him at this point. Um, this one's hard. I'm going to lean towards the better quarterback with Pat Mahomes. I think that they need the game desperately because if they lose this, I think that the Broncos pretty much seal this division at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They're 3 games ahead at this point, and they're steamrolling. Not steamrolling. They're barely beating most of the people, but it almost seems like when you go into these games, you're just like, the Broncos are going to win. Their defense is too good. Their offense is horrible. It reminds me of the 2018 Bears with Mitch Trubisky being dog shit and the Bears having a generational defense. It's literally reminiscent of that, but you're going to win games off those defenses. So I expect Rashee Rice to actually get locked up this game by Pat Surtain. He's
Pat is
been more
out.
of like a check down guy. They used him at running back, screens. They use him in the short routes, and I feel like obviously any elite DB, they're going to cover the short game, the intermediate game a lot better than they're going to cover the deep game. So I have the Chiefs in this one though because I think they're going to lean heavily on Kelsey, and the Broncos actually have been allowing a decent amount of points to tight ends fantasy wise, so yardage wise, touchdowns. So I definitely have the Chiefs in this one narrowly. I
So
think that they're
Pat,
just.
so Pat is still out this game because he is on IR.
You're right. I'll correct myself on that. So without that, that's another reason for me to lean the Chiefs on this one. Um, Yeah, I just think that one team's a lot more desperate for a win. The other team has been just slipping with some of these wins where, in all honesty, they haven't deserved the last 3 wins. So I think Chiefs in this one narrowly 21-17, 21-20.
Definitely. This will be a great game, I think. It sucks that this game and the Seahawks and Rams games are about the same time. So I'll probably be split screening this one in all honesty. But like I said, I'm taking Denver. I think their defense is playing at too high of a level right now. And even with having Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs offense has been way inconsistent this year. And with their lack of run game, you're just allowing Denver to just pin their ears back and get after the quarterback at that point because they don't
Gotcha.
have a run game in Kansas City. That's why I'm mainly leaning Denver. So heading to Sunday Night Football, we're heading to Philadelphia. My Eagles against the Detroit Lions. Um, this one's a tough one for me. Um, I'm not like what I've seen from our offense at all. That's nothing fucking new. And you have Kevin Patullo calling plays for you, fucking schmuck. Um, I do love our defense though. I think with the Jalen Phillips edition, Vance Joseph or Vic Fangio has really figured out this defense now that we have Jalen Phillips there. Quinyon Mitchell's back playing at full health. And we're a very good matchup for the line. We match up with the Lions is very good because I know Amon Ra is a slot guy. So if he's on the outside, he'll be guarded by Quinyon. If he's in the slot, he'll be guarded by Cooper DeJean. So I really like our guys against Amon Ra St. Brown at all times. I think we could get this game done with 4, just rushing forward the whole game is where I really favor us. And I have a feeling, probably gut feeling here. I think this is the game where Nick Sirianni says enough is enough and he starts taking over play calling. I think this is one where he's gonna look at the other sideline, see what Dan Campbell did by taking over play calling last week, and he's just say enough is enough. I have to call this game. It's a big game for seeding in the NFC for sure. So I think, like I said, Nick Sirianni starts calling plays. I'm expecting. I'll get to that later. We'll get to it later. But I'm gonna take my Eagles in this one. I think it's gonna be a bit of a. I think it'll be a low scoring first half with a high scoring second half. But I am riding with my Eagles, of course. Give me my fly, Eagles fly, 27-21 at home at the link.
Yeah. I think with Dan Campbell taking over play calling abilities, I don't think he's the creative offensive guru that Ben Johnson was. This is a guy that, yes, he's going to feature his star players. Hence why all of a sudden Jameer Gibbs becomes the alpha running back. Usually it's David Montgomery starting every single game. Jameer comes down as a change of pace back, which I don't know why they still do that. But other than that, it's almost like reminiscent of the Vikings versus Lions game. I know that's a division rivalry, and you throw the records out the book and you just
Mhm.
kind of play football any given Sunday. But I think you guys match up with them well, like how you said. It's going to be a great defense against a great offense, a great offense. The difference is the Vikings had JJ McCarthy. You guys have Jalen Hurts. I'm going to trust that with a great defense. And other than that, all I got to say is fly, Eagles, fly. Give us first in the division. If you come through with this one, I already told Darren I'm going to DoorDash him some food, so you guys can hold me accountable for that. I definitely will, because if my Bears win, if they lose, you don't get food. If the Bears win and you win, you get food. Whatever you want.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm riding with my Eagles. I think Saquon will have a decent game here, but like I said, I think Sierra takes our play calling, and I'm actually be expecting a big game out of Smitty and AJ Brown here. In all honesty, I just got a gut feeling whenever things get really bad with AJ Brown, the next game he gets featured a lot in the offense. He gets force fed, which I'm not opposed to force feeding him. There's no one on that team on that defense of the Lions that could guard him. Terron Arnold is not as good as you guys think he is. He's just not.
Right.
Um, he got drafted so high because when he was playing in college, the DB opposite of him was Pat Surtain. That's all I gotta say about that one. Heading to a Monday night stinker. We got the Cowboys and the Raiders. Oh, this would be so horrible to watch on Monday night. Can we get the Raiders off of prime time too, please? Can we get these guys off prime time? But with that being
Cowboys, that's all
said,
I got to say.
with that being said,
Nothing else.
with that being said, I got the Raiders in this one.
Oh,
I have the
no way.
Raiders. Hear me out. Hear me out.
Let's hear it.
The Cowboys defense is ass. Absolute basuda butt cheeks. I don't think Logan Wilson or Quinn Williams make a difference in this game, to be honest with you, because It's Matt Eberflus still calling the plays. Like Ron McDonald called better defense than him. Give me the Las Vegas Raiders in this one. I'm gonna go a high scoring game though, because I think both these teams will put up points. Give me the Raiders 33-28 to win this game. It'll be a game where Geno Smith or the Raiders get a touchdown with like 3 to 4 minutes left. Then Dak Prescott's gonna do what Dak Prescott does and throw a fucking pick. Give me the Raiders 33-28, baby.
All right. If Aiden O'Connell was playing this season, I would pick the Raiders because I don't trust Kenny Pickett. Can he throw a pick? And I definitely don't trust Geno Smith. I can throw better with my left foot than Geno Smith can throw with his right hand.
Do you trust the
Cowboys? I'm sorry, defense? He's left-handed. But either way, Geno Smith's ass. I don't trust him. I think Quinnen Williams. I mean, it's hard because when you see a team add an edge rusher, it usually bolsters their defense a bit. I don't know what it's going to look like with probably the best defensive tackle in the league. So it's going to be kind of hard. Like, it's already hard to create pressure on the quarterback from that position to begin with. Mm-hmm. Logan Wilson, he went from I believe it was the 32nd ranked defense to the 31st ranked defense. So he wasn't helping much anyway. So I agree with you in that aspect, but I think this Cowboys offense is too overpowered. Raiders defense is still below average. So I think Dak is going to get it done in this game. I think the Cowboys are going to win this one like 33 to like 17.
And I think also the reason I'm going Raiders here is I think that Max Crosby has a game similar that he did against the Bears at the beginning of the year. Just because Tyler Guyton his ass.
Caliber game.
Tyler Guyton his ass. Tyler Guyton is absolute ass. So I think the Raiders win this game, but high score.
All right, and then for our next topic, we have AJ Brown. What's going to happen next? With him looking very disgruntled with the Eagles, I have no idea why. I mean, you're on a winning team that just won the Super Bowl. You're winning again. You're number one in the NFC. I don't know if he's just not getting fed enough. I don't know if the coaching staff's pissing him off. Jalen Hurts is pissing him off. I had heard that they've had turmoil a couple of times where they've gotten verbal arguments. But regardless, we're going to talk about the Vegas betting favorites to land AJ Brown in the offseason if a trade were to happen. And at this point, before I get your opinion, it is looking pretty, I don't know, like up and down, like possibly 50-50 coin flip. It could happen. It could not happen. But with his contract being the way it is, he is very tradable. It's little to no dead cap hit. The 5 betting favorites are Baltimore, Bills, Chargers, Patriots, and Broncos. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to hear Darren's opinion on each team. We're going to start off with Baltimore. Obviously, they can shed some cap space next year, getting rid of a few of these players that are costing them $8-9 million that they could save space on, like a DeAndre Hopkins. But what do you think about Baltimore?
I don't think it happens. Baltimore specifically. I mean, my opinion is that we don't trade AJ Brown. Period. But I'll get to that at the end of this. We're at the end of this one. Baltimore, I don't think is very likely. Just because Baltimore isn't a team that usually makes those type of trades in general. And with them being a run-focused offense still, as long as you have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, you're still be a run-focused team. And plus, I think they have a few players. They just, with their huge re-up of Kyle Hamilton too, I know that affects their cap space a lot. So I don't see that being possible for AJ Brown to end up in Baltimore.
Yeah, so I had looked up some of these teams prior to the video. Baltimore can actually shed about $18 million in cap space with these 1-year contracts that they had this current season. So they could possibly make it work. But I agree with you. I don't think Baltimore is a likely option. If his issue, because again, we can't really narrow it down to one or two things at this point. If target share is the issue, Baltimore is not the place to go. And I do see the Eagles organization being well run enough to at least honor where he wants to go and do right by AJ Brown. Let's go into the next team with the Buffalo Bills. I'll start off by saying I would love this, but
I wouldn't.
Are you guys going to trade AJ Brown to a Super Bowl contender?
This is a situation. It's kind of the Stephon Diggs trade when the Bills got him. At this point, though, I don't think other than picks, I don't think we have any players that we'd be interested in from the Bills to really make a deal work with them. And I don't know their cap situation, but I know they have a lot of money invested in Josh Allen, of course. They're huge re-signing of James Cook. Dalton Kincaid's probably due to get paid soon too, and he is their number one wideout. So I think that they're gonna have too much money tied up into too many players, and I think they're gonna be more of a defensive focus offseason rather than going for someone like AJ Brown.
Yeah, it's hard with the Bills. The defense has not lived up to expectations. Again, they haven't been what they used to be. With their decent DBs led by an above average D line and solid linebacking core.
Mhm.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be a defensive lean toward free agency period, but I definitely do think that they need to get a wide receiver in this group. Let's jump into the next team with the Los Angeles Chargers. I'll start off by saying this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know where Vegas is getting this. Again, I said the emergence of Trey Harris on top of Keenan Allen. I get it. He's on a 1-year contract, but even without him, they have Trey Harris, who's a high draft pick.
Mhm.
They have Quentin Johnson, high draft pick, first round pick. And then they have Lad McConkey, a second round pick. With those three, and then with their arrival of Ronde Gadsden, I don't see why they even make this trade, why they're even betting favorites. So this one makes little to no sense to me, and I'm sure you agree with me on that one.
Yeah, I don't really need to go in depth in this one. The Chargers have plenty of weapons on the offensive side of the ball, and I think if you were to trade for someone like AJ Brown, you'd probably have to give up someone like a Quishon Johnson or something like that to actually acquire him in a deal like that. And again, I think this offense has enough firepower once they're healthy. So again, another team just focus on the defense side of the ball, so you guys can do in the offseason for the Chargers. Like you said, they shouldn't even be betting favorites for AJ Brown.
And here's an interesting one. Possibly the best sophomore quarterback right now, Drake May with the New England Patriots. I'll start off by saying this would be very interesting. They have a lot of cap space left over.
Mhm.
I believe they had the most cap space last year. So this would be game changing for the Patriots, and I can see them making a hard push. In my opinion, this is my favorite to land AJ Brown if you guys were to trade him. They need an alpha wide receiver. Stephon Diggs, even though he's looked pretty solid this whole season or the middle part of the season, because again, he was coming back from a late season ACL tear.
Mhm.
He looks solid, but he's still not an alpha wide receiver. He's over the hill at this point. You suffer an injury at the worst part of your career, which is in your 30s.
Mhm.
Coming back from that, you're just a solid wide receiver option, somebody that Drake may trust. But I could see AJ Brown, especially in a pass heavy offense like this. I could see him either not only being happy, but I could also see them succeeding.
I would have the Patriots as the second favorite to land him this offseason if they were to make a move. I think for the Patriots, it just really comes down to what the Eagles would be asking and wanting for an AJ Brown. Howie Roseman is the ultimate finesser, so I assume we'd come away with something really good out of that trade and get the Patriots to overpay. But the Patriots are also a very smart organization, and with Mike Vrabel being the head coach, I don't think he'd be willing to overpay for someone like an AJ Brown, even though he would be reuniting. They would be reuniting from their Tennessee days. So I can also see Vrabel having a soft spot for an AJ Brown, so he might be willing to spend the picks or the players to get him. But I do think they are the second favorite to land him. But if it did happen, I wouldn't be surprised. And if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be surprised. If it did happen, I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yeah, and then after or before I get into this next team, afterwards we'll discuss the likelihood of him actually getting traded, and then we will also get into what team might be your number one favorite, but if it's not, we'll get into your favorite as well. The Denver Broncos. I would like
So
this move as well, but you going across conferences. He's out of the NFC. You don't have to worry about him. But with Bo Nix, I still think that Cortland Sutton's underrated. I think that Bo Nix is not targeted enough, and not only that, Bo Nix has played like ass the last few weeks, so it's making Cortland Sutton look worse again.
mhm.
But to have Cortland Sutton and AJ Brown, that would look legit. But as a caveat, I do not think they can afford him. I think they need to pay some of these defensive players because you guys have a Super Bowl caliber defense. You guys have a Super Bowl winning defense. So I think you guys just roll with what you guys have with Troy Franklin, Cortland Sutton, and Marvin Mims, and just roll into next season. Get rid of Evan Ingram because he's dog shit. But yeah, this trade wouldn't make sense to me anyways because I think they need to pay these defensive players.
Yeah, definitely. This is a team I would have up there as a favorite too, just because I think we could work it. I think I could work a deal with the Broncos to get some defensive compensation back from them. Maybe like a Riley Moss. I know I know at times he does get burnt, but I do think with him being around a Cooper DeJean and a Quinyon Mitchell, he would actually propel himself a little more in his career because he wouldn't be
Like
getting
that.
targeted as much. So I could definitely see a deal if we could get Riley Moss in a deal like that. That's why I'd have the Broncos as probably the favorite team to get him. Just because, like I said, I think it comes down to we could get defense compensation back in a trade like that.
All right, now that we finished with the 5 teams, I also wanted to add this in before we get into the likelihood of him getting traded. Let's jump into just, playing around with something. What would AJ Brown go for? In my opinion, I'm thinking to a contending team, a late first, to a team that's a non-contender, an early second. And then possibly with the second, throw in a fifth.
Mhm.
Like a late round pick swap, 5 for a 6. That's kind of where I'm leaning at. But what do you think? Like, what do you think AJ Brown goes for if he is traded?
It really just depends on what the teams are, how desperately the team wants him. If you're someone like that you think you're an AJ Brown away from being a Super Bowl contender, Super Bowl winning team, you kind of have to look at it as like, do we just mortgage a lot to win now, and then we're kind of fucked for the future type of deal? Are you willing to end up in that situation? I agree with you. I think if he goes to the Super Bowl contending team, I say he goes for like a second round pick. I just think with him approaching being closer to 30, he won't go for a first rounder. Like I said, but it all depends on the team. And like I said, Howie Roseman being the master finesser, I also wouldn't be surprised if we did get a first rounder out of him.
Yeah, like a team like the Bills, if they don't invest
Mm,
heavily on the defense and they realize, you know what, we got Josh Allen. We need a
mm,
receiver. Screw the defense. Get Josh Allen a weapon. Bills historically have drafted horrible in the late 20s, early 30s when it comes to drafting, especially when it comes to wide receivers. So I can easily see them giving up like a 28th overall pick for AJ Brown. And, I'm not an Eagles fan, but what I evaluate AJ Brown at, I would take that in a heartbeat because you guys typically draft very well with Howie Roseman. So
mm,
especially with those late first round picks, the late second round picks, you guys typically do well with those. So I would definitely take that in a heartbeat. But let's get into the reality of him actually getting traded. I don't think it's actually going to happen. I know he's very frustrated. I think they're going to mend their fences. I think everything's going to be just fine. They're going to have their little kumbaya. They'll fix things in the offseason. Winning helps. It doesn't matter how disgruntled you are as a player, winning
mm.
helps. But let's jump into your opinion as the Eagles fan.
Um, I think it'll be fine. It's the Kevin Patullo issue. He just has the AJ Brown running go routes every fucking time, and AJ Brown's a guy that if you just throw a slant, he's such a big body receiver. He's gonna chill off the DB, and let him just get into open field and break tackles and make plays with his legs 2 yards after catch. So I think he'll be fine. He'll stay there. I know a lot of Eagles fans are like, "Oh, I'm sick of AJ Brown. Like, ship him off." Like, but we find with Smitty as a one. I do think Smitty can be a one. Don't get me wrong. I do think that, but having someone like AJ Brown is with the offense that we have, you can't let someone like that go unless you know you get a similar caliber receiver in return, and there's not many of those to go around. Like I said, I just think it's a Kevin Patullo issue. Kevin Patullo will not be calling plays I think by the end of the year. I think like I said, Sirianni will eventually take over play calling eventually. And even if he doesn't, he's in so much turmoil and hot water with this organization. He'll be gone at the end of the year anyway. And I think with the Patullo being out, I think AJ Brown will be happy because I do have a small feeling because I did read something not too long ago that Dan Orlovsky said he could be interested in being coming to coaching next year, and I think Dan Orlovsky would actually be one of the more elite offensive coordinators in the NFL off the rip. If you just listen to talk on ESPN and watch him break down film, he is a great offensive mind. I know he wasn't the best player, i.e., running out of the back of the end zone, but you can't deny that this guy draws up schemes from just watching film. Like, holy shit! Like this guy's like an offensive guru. We just haven't seen it happen come to fruition yet. But there are gonna be a lot of OCs out there, i.e., Brian Dable, Kevin Stefanski will probably be out there as well. Possibly Josh McDaniels down in Miami. So it's gonna be a lot of OCs to go around next year. That's why I see Kim Patullo not being there. And like I said, I think it's more of a Patullo and AJ Brown issue rather than an AJ Brown issue himself. I think yes, receivers can be divas when they don't get the ball, But I think AJ Brown's more frustrated with the route tree he has to run in this offense.
All right, and then for our next topic, I'm going to give you guys my second rendition of my boom bust fantasy football players of week 11. So I got 4 boom players for you guys, and I got 2 bust players for you guys. I'm not going to do the 5 and 5 this week. It was a little hard to find. There's a lot of good matchups coming up this week, especially with the bust players. So let's jump into my 4 boom players of week 11. So with my first player, I'm going to go with Michael Wilson of the Arizona Cardinals. I know they're playing the 49ers, decent defense, but they are suffering from a lot of injuries. This defense does give up some points to the wide receiver position. They're about middle of the pack. With no MHJ playing, I can see him coming away with about 10 to 12 targets. Last game, he actually had 7 targets, and I believe 5 of those came before the injury. So, with that being said, I can easily see him getting, like I said, 10 to 12 targets this game.
Mhm.
Uh, Jacoby Brissett's running this offense a lot better than Kyler Murray has run it in the last 2 years. So I could easily see Michael Wilson breaking his projection right now, which is about 9 points. It might jump a little bit before once the news finally hits that MHJ's out. He might jump to like the 11, 12 point range, but I could still easily see him getting to the 12, 14 point range. We'll get into my second player of the week for my boom. I'm going to go Khalil Shakir. Kincaid is most likely not going to play this week. He did have his DNP for the second day in a row. Um, when you usually have that, they don't even at least have a limited participation on a Thursday. It's typically going to lean towards a do not play. So, with that being said, Kincaid being the number 1 wide receiver in that Bills offense, I do think that Shakir has been the most consistent target in this entire offense all year long. Last week, he had 7 targets. Um, Regardless of who they're playing, I know it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've been decent against wide receiver position again, but this is going to be a high scoring affair. I can just see it. Both defenses have been struggling to hold anybody to under 20 points. So, with that being said, Josh Allen's going to have to air the ball out this game. And Khalil
Mhm.
Shakir being his most consistent option behind Dalton Kincaid, I can easily see him getting north of 8 to 9 targets, coming away with about 70 yards and possibly a touchdown. So, with that being said, 14, 15 point range, that's going to be my second boom player of the week. And then with my third boom player of week 11, I'm going to have Kareem Hunt. With this one, no Pacheco again this week. This one's interesting. The reason why I trust this one, I know it's against the Denver Broncos defense, and they actually rank second against running backs. But the only reason why I say this is that his projection right now is only 8.6 points. Again, might go up as the days come along, but regardless, they have no one to get the ball into the end zone. And this Kansas City Chiefs offense, with no certain, the offense is going to move the ball regardless. Even though the pass rush is going to be pretty, in Mahomes' face at the entirety of this game. Like I could still see Kareem Hunt getting into the end zone off a couple of chip plays at the goal line. And that's usually who they give their ball to. They're not giving Brashard Smith any usage in this offense. Any other running backs are not included in this offense. So it's going to be a lot of Rashee Rice. It's going to be a lot of Pat Mahomes, and it's possibly going to be Kareem Hunt at the goal line. Again, I could see him easily going for 13 points if he gets a touchdown, possibly more. So that's going to be my third boom player of the week. And then for my fourth and final boom player of the week, I have Jalen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hmm.
I did pick the Bengals to win this game, but regardless, the Bengals have the worst defense in the league.
Yeah,
They
that's
are
true.
the worst against the running back position. I can easily see Jalen Warren, who has carved out an alpha running back role in this offense. I can easily see him getting north of 20 points this game. If you have Jalen Warren, you're obviously starting him regardless because he's been a consistent flex option for you this whole season, and
Mhm.
he's earned his role as an RB2 in fantasy football at this point. So plug him into your lineup. You're going to get north of 20 points. I can guarantee that. And even if it's not 20 points, you're going to be fine with 18. So I can easily see him having a great game against the worst defense. And that's going to be my fourth and final boom player of the week. And then for my two and only bust players of the week, we'll jump into my first, being Tyrone Tracy of the New York Giants. They're going to be playing the Green Bay Packers, who are the fourth best defense against the position.
That's a good shout.
And not only that, he's been splitting carries with Devin Singletary. I know against the Bears defense, they kind of gave way as the game went on. Singletary broke a few. I'm sorry, Tyrone Tracy broke a few, ended up giving him
Mhm.
71 yards rushing for the day. But if you watch the majority of that game to start, he had, I believe it was 8 carries for 12 yards. So it wasn't until he got the next few carries that he finally started breaking some, and all of a sudden it looked like he had a great day. Tyrone Tracy's been very inefficient this year ever since Cam Scatterbo got hurt. And again, Devin Singletary's been splitting the carries with him, and they've been using Devin Singletary in the passing downs. Again, if you're playing full PPR, which my stats are going to be based off of, especially these boom bust players, you can't get a lot of points from a player rushing for 100 yards. That's 10 points. You need the receptions. You need you know, the passing down usage. And if Tyrone Tracy's not getting much of that, I don't have him even hitting 10 points this week, if I'm being honest. One of the best defenses against the position, splitting carries in a committee and not getting any usage in the pass game. Tyrone Tracy is going to be my first bust player of the week.
That one I definitely agree with for sure.
And then moving into my second and final bust player of the week. Again, this was a tough one for matchups. I couldn't find anybody that I felt strong enough, but this one's going to be a bigger one, and it will be my final, Quinshon Judkins of the Cleveland Browns. Dylan Gabriel cannot move this ball consistently enough. Even when Quinshon Judkins gets him 2 yards away, Kevin Stefanski wants to throw the ball with Dylan Gabriel, incomplete pass, punt. And it's just a continued trend that we've seen for the last few weeks. And not only that, even though you might think you see the green light on the sleeper app again, which is where I'm going based off of, you see that green, the dark green with the Ravens defense. That is completely skewed. They played without most of their starters for the majority of this year. They have everyone healthy except for Justin Madubuike this year. So they are back to an elite defense. And you can look at their stats for the last couple of games when they got their starters back ever since the Bears game. They've been elite. They've been a top 10 defense. And with Quinshon Judkins, he doesn't get a lot of usage when it comes to the pass game. It seems like when the Cleveland Browns fall behind early, they lean towards their other running backs. They lean towards Jerome Ford and others. So with that being said, Quinshon Judkins is the first and second down back. If they don't have a lead whatsoever, they can't really use him. And I can easily see Lamar Jackson and company getting ahead early. With that being said, Quinshon Judkins is my second and final bust player of the week.
All right, guys, and this week we're finally bringing back Shway Slate. Took a couple weeks off because I was traveling and I was in Washington where gambling's illegal. So that sucked for me, or maybe a good thing for me. But anyways, so I got a 2-man and a 3-man for you guys this week. The 2-man will be on Pick 6, which is hosted by DraftKings. Just type in Pick 6. You can download the app there. We're not affiliated with either of these companies. Bet at your own risk. Don't fully take my advice. Take my advice. But yeah, so for the 2-man on DraftKings Pick 6, this would be a 3x payout on a 2-man. I have Kyron Williams under 56.5 rushing yards against the Seattle Seahawks defense. I like we talked about earlier, I like the Seahawks defense a lot. And this one, I think this will be more of a game where the Rams will rely more on the pass than they will to run at all. And with the split carries of Blake Corum, I actually think Blake Corum will have a bigger role in this game than people think. So I got Kyron Williams under 56.5 rushing yards.
I like it.
The next one I have for the 2-man, to complete the 2-man play here, guys, I have James Cook over 13.5 receiving yards. I think with Dalton Kincaid being out, I think we'll see a lot more of James Cook in the screen game, or in a lot more on checkdowns. I think he'll be the checkdown guy this time as opposed to Kincaid since he's out. So I really like the James Cook 13.5 over 13.5 receiving yards. I just think that one's kind of free money for sure. So that'd be it for the 2-man. Again, guys, I placed this on Pick 6, hosted by DraftKings. Reason I placed it on there is they had a better line for James Cook out of the other apps. So for the 3-man, guys, you actually go to a different app. Everyone probably has Prize Picks by now. So the 3-man will be on Prize Picks. Again, gamble at your own risk. And we are not affiliated with Prize Picks either. The first one I have for the 3-man is for a 6-time payout. I have AJ Brown over 4 receptions. Like I said, I think this will be just a game where we're going to have a situation where we have to use him, whether Kevin Patullo wants to or not. So I do think we're going to get a lot of targets to AJ Brown and a lot of receptions out of AJ Brown. So with his line only being at 4, to me, I think that's kind of free money against the Detroit Lions defense that isn't the best in the secondary. So I like AJ Brown over 4 receptions. The next one I have Kamani Vidal over 12.5 receiving yards. He's gone over 20 the last 3 games, and they're going against the Jaguars, who do have a decent defense, but I do think they will use him a lot in this pass game this week, in the screen game as well. So I do like Kamani Vidal over 12.5 receiving yards. For this last one, I need you guys to take a walk with me on this one. Take a walk with me and hear me out. I'm taking Jameis Winston over 229.5 passing yards. I just got a feeling.
You see it?
I just got a feeling about this one. I just think Jameis Winston is good. I think at this point in his career, Jameis Winston just wants to play football and wants to have fun. So I can see him just playing very loose, no matter how bad he's playing. I think there's going to air out the rock a ton this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Jameis Winston has over 50 passing attempts, honestly. So I like Jameis Winston over 229.5 passing yards, and that will complete the three-man. Again, that is A.J. Brown over 4 receptions, Kamani Vidal over 12.5 receiving yards, and Jameis Winston over 229.5 passing yards.
And we will have the slips posted over my face when we get the video out.
Mm-hmm.
So gamble at your own risk. We're not affiliated with any of these companies. Again, like Darren said, these are just where the lines are best in his opinion.
All right, guys, that will do it for episode 9 of the Fourth and Clutch podcast. We'll be back again next week for the standard recap of week 11 and whatever topics we need, whatever happens from now and then. I think next episode we'll probably go throw some NBA in next week because NBA season's in full effect now. The Thunder are looking like they're probably going to go back to back. They have lost one game. They're really good. But yeah, so we'll probably throw some NBA in next week, guys. Just kind of mix it up a bit for you guys. And we may recap the UFC card this weekend because there's a massive UFC card this weekend with Islam Makhachev defending against JDM. So that's probably something we will talk about definitely somewhat next episode. Other than that, guys, I don't have too much more to add. Elias, you got anything for the people before we get out of here?
So we are recording this on a Thursday night to do the recap, but tomorrow on Friday we will be recording more TikToks. So be on the lookout for that. Other than that, like I always say, thank you guys for the continued support. It's always appreciated. Again, we do this for the love of the game. We don't do this for anything else other than that. Thank you guys for tuning in again.
Guys, that has been the Fourth and Clutch podcast, and we are out.